No, Texan fans, Urban Meyer's firing does not mean David Culley should be out the door. However, it may affect the Houston Texans' future. And COVID is putting up Michael Jackson This Is It tours. How will this affect the rest of the season? But first,
You are Locked On Texans, your daily Houston Texans podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
welcome in Locked On Texans listeners and viewers on YouTube. I'm John Hickman. Follow me on Twitter at John_Hickman12. And of course, I'm joined by none other than Cody Davis. Thank you for making the Locked On Texans your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. Today is Friday as we usher out this week. Get prepared, for this upcoming Sunday, if there will be an upcoming Sunday, and Christmas, of course. Shout out to you families out there for the holidays. Cody and I understand that the firing of Urban Meyer may have implications on the Houston Texans' future. However, before we dive into that, Cody, COVID is one of our favorite artists. Is your favorite artist? One of my favorite artists. I don't know. This is it. COVID right now is putting up This Is It tour numbers across sports, whether it be NHL, whether it be NBA, whether it be the NFL, and right now the Houston Texans are affected. They do have 8 players on the COVID list. Of course, we knew about the top 2 and David Johnson and Kamu Grugier-Hill. Now we have the AJ Moores on the COVID list for Houston and Christian Kirksey. Right now, Houston has 8 total players on the COVID list, and there has been a league-wide breakout. And I just wanted to talk about it really quick because no matter what happens with other teams, this will affect the Houston Texans. I'm sure you guys know this and understand it. With what is it right now? As I mentioned, 8 for Houston and much more for other teams. I think it would be irresponsible of the NFL on the NFL's behalf if they continue with a full slate of games this weekend. Obviously, you can't do anything about the Thursday night football game between the Chiefs and the Chargers, but looking at some of the games that they flexed, right? They have a couple of Saturday games. They have the Sunday games, one of which is the Houston versus the Jaguars. We will discuss that, Cody and listeners. But I'm not going to be a fan that the NFL says, well, we're going to move on from it. I think they have I know they have the power to just postpone at least a week, right? You're going to still get your money. People are still going to tune in whenever football is back. I think it's the opportunity to kind of show some solidarity with players, and it's a smart idea to just say, let's hold off a week. It will allow players who may be affected and teams that may be affected by coaches and players to get healthier. And I think it'll be a great opportunity for teams to get healthier, period. So that's my take on that, Cody. How do you feel about the COVID outbreak right now in the NFL?
NFL, NBA, NHL, I believe that all these leagues and even colleges, we see COVID numbers are starting to affect colleges. In my opinion, I think it would be best if they just cut back not just 1 week, but 2 weeks. Make sure everybody get themselves situated. But of course, here on Locked On Texans, with this being an NFL team that we cover, I don't think the NFL is going to do anything about it, because if they did, they would have postponed Week 15 on yesterday. And today is a travel day for a team like the Houston Texans. After practice today, they're going to be traveling to Jacksonville, and the rest of the teams who are going to be on the road for Week 15, this is a travel day, and it would not make sense for the NFL to wait until, let's say, later on this afternoon or early tomorrow morning and say games will not be played when you are already put healthy players at risk to catch COVID due to travel. And look, John and listeners, the Houston Texans, as of right now, they are lucky to only have 8 players on the COVID-19 list, right? Because the Los Angeles Rams, as we speak right now, they have 25 players on the roster.
Remember when Odell? I'm sorry. Remember when Odell asked Odell about the vaccination or about COVID? And remember what he said? We have a mutual respect. Like
and
I am of God body. You cannot enter me. This is not a laughing matter, but in his case, due to that quote, we have a mutual respect. I think that was the respect that he had with the last COVID-19.
exactly.
This
And
Amari
what's crazy about
Thomas
that
is just different.
is And what's crazy about that is he is one of the 25 players who are also on the COVID list as of right now. You take a look at the Cleveland Browns. I believe as the last time I saw it, they had 18. It's probably over 20 now. These numbers, and this is just in sports. COVID numbers are rising all over the place, and it's just one of those situations where we just have to be reminded that this virus is still out here, and we still have to do our part. Rather that's get vaccinated. If you anti-vax, double mask up, make sure you wash your hands, try to stay completely clean or whatever the case might be. We all got to do our part, because I'm not going to lie, we was all starting to get a little bit relaxed
We
over
got
the last
lazy.
couple of weeks. I mean,
We
I'm not
got
even going to
lazy.
lie. I think it was 2-3 weeks ago. The meter that the city of Houston have to let you know how bad COVID is, we finally reached the green for like the first time since April or somewhere along those lines. And look, we all got a little bit relaxed, but this virus is still out here. We're still in a pandemic, and it doesn't matter if you're a player, if you are a reporter like me and you, listeners, viewer, whatever the case might be. Regardless how you feel, at the end of the day, we all have to do our part to make sure we beat this virus before it beat us. And
Absolutely.
then we really be like, I hate to say this, but my favorite artist, my favorite icon of all time.
Right. Going on that tour, right? Oh, wait, that's funny. Right now, the Cleveland Browns are sitting at 20. The Rams are at 25.
So they did go over
Washington,
20.
they went over to 20. Washington is sitting at 21. The Bears are at 12. Coming in at number 5 are the Houston Texans with 8. And the NFLPA is currently pushing for aggressively for a postponement of the Raiders and Browns game on Saturday, one of those Saturday games. Some in the union believe that the entire season should shut down for a week. I'm not in the union, but I agree with you. And Cody, you said too. The union is concerned about player and safety integrity of the game right now, and I totally agree. If you want to put your best product out on the field, listen, this is times. Let's talk about the playoff implications. This is times where teams are in the hunt, in the running, and teams are trying to secure their wild card. Some teams are trying to get the top spot in their conference, and this will affect them, right? When you look at the Rams, this will affect the Rams. When you look at the Washington football team, they are in the hunt right now. This will affect them. The Dolphins, the Vikings, these will affect these. I'm sorry, the COVID and the players being shut down, sitting out will affect some of these teams. I definitely want to give you guys an update on Deshaun Watson. Just really quick, a search warrant was issued for Deshaun Watson's social media account. So, as we mentioned a couple of weeks ago and months before, things will really start to kick off next year. We are towards the end of the year right now. They're just getting prepared and ready for the next phase of this Deshaun Watson trial. Cody, I'm not sure how this is going to, work out with everything that's going on in the world, but, specifically to the league. However, Super Bowl 56 at SoFi is less than 100 days away, and On Location, the official hospitality partner of the NFL, the only place to score a once-in-a-lifetime Super Bowl ticket and experience package. Select your exact seats and choose from elite experiences featuring an inclusive pregame celebration with NFL legends, five-star LA hotels, and food by the great Wolfgang Puck. Visit onlocationexp.com/Super Bowl 56 for more information or search Super Bowl On Location. And this holiday season, grab the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar or even better than a candy bar. Built Bar with so much holiday goodness, rich with decadent flavor, covered in 100% chocolate, but amazingly low in calories, sugars, net carbs, and fats, but high in protein. You get the best of both worlds, delicious and healthy, with so many different flavors. And Built Bar gives you that exact fuel you need to bust down those mall doors and battle those holiday shoppers. Do not get crazy this holiday season. However, you get hungry, Built Bar will get you just right, give you that extra fuel, right? So, and on top of that, just like those marshmallow treats around the holiday, you want to get your hands on one of those Built Bar Puffs. They are light, fluffy, and marshmallowy through and through. Different flavors, all covered in chocolate. Taste so good, you won't believe they are filled with protein. Go to Built.com and use promo code LOCK15 and you'll get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at built.com. Cody and I are joking about this old, Michael Jackson "This Is It" tour that COVID is doing right now. And I got to tell you, the Houston Texans and the fan base and the Jacksonville Jaguar fan base, they got to be looking at each other and singing, "You are not alone."
They got
because
to.
We ain't alone. We all together in this AFC South misery boat. But you had an opportunity, a great conversation with Wig over at Locked On Jaguars. Cody, let's talk about Urban Meyer, the firing, and if that affects the Houston Texans in the future.
It does affect the Houston Texans. You got to look at it in multiple different ways. First and foremost, I do believe it's going to affect them the most on Sunday because I think this is going to be the extra boost that the Jaguars need in order to win that game. And look, and I'm going to save my thoughts and theories about that later on in the show. But John, when I take a look at this, the firing of Urban Meyer, and ladies and gentlemen, if you did not have an opportunity to do so, please be sure to check out the crossover edition of Locked On Texans that we did with our guy over at Locked On Jags, Tony Wig, because it was kind of different. It was mostly me and him discussing how similar the dysfunction between the Houston Texans and the Jacksonville Jaguars are. But when I take a look at the firing of Urban Meyer, I can't help but to think to myself that the Jacksonville Jaguars actually did something that the Houston Texans did not do, and they still would not do. And that is to get rid of a guy who is being a detriment to your team, to your franchise players, to your fan base. Every single week, there was something new going on about Urban Meyer. And I don't want to make it seem like Trevor Lawrence was the main reason why he isn't the head coach anymore. But prior, like 12 hours before his firing, Trevor Lawrence was speaking to the media down in Jacksonville. And Wig actually talked about this on the crossover show too. And he talked about how Trevor Lawrence, you could tell he was fed up. And how he talked about how there are people within the organization, i.e. Urban Myers, who is causing too much drama and giving the team too much negativity. And when we talked, I told Wig, I said, Wig, from a guy who literally went through a similar experience here in the city of Houston, I hope Jacksonville listened to their quarterback. Now, look, I understand his firing has something to do more so about the story that came out about him kicking his player. But
kicking the kicker, not just
kicking the kicker. But what I would say to that point is the Jaguars owner, he literally came out, I want to say it was Monday, and still had Urban Meyer's back. After that story, hearing your franchise quarterback say, all of this foolishness and stuff had to stop, within a span of 12 hours, Urban is gone. And I sat there and I thought to myself, I said, man, I really wish the Houston Texans did that same exact thing. Because I understand Deshaun Watson and his status in the NFL is way beyond Trevor Lawrence. I mean, hell, this is his 14th game of his career. And Deshaun Watson is well established. But when I went back and I revisit that press conference that Trevor Lawrence had, it reminded me so much of the press conference the last time we had an opportunity to talk to Deshaun Watson, which was a Monday after that final loss against the Tennessee Titans that closed the 2022 season. And Deshaun Watson was just telling us how bad this whole organization need a culture shift and how there are people within the organization, i.e. Jack Easterby, who believes and think he has power, and so many people are on different page. And all he wanted was to see certain people going, i.e. Jack Easterby, and to get some leadership within this organization that can actually help keep his career here in the city of Houston, but more so help the Houston Texans become a winner. The Jacksonville Jaguars did that. Now, of course, you got to see who they're going to bring in to replace Urban. But they took a step in the right direction versus the Houston Texans, who were in the same situation and still in the situation with the guy that is being a detriment to his franchise. They took a step back because, John, listeners, it doesn't matter what you do for a living. If you have someone within your workforce who is being a detriment to you and your organization, you're going to get them the hell out of that organization in hopes of improving it. The Texans didn't do that. That's why I look at the Jacksonville Jaguars, at least right now, and say kudos. You got the guy that was the biggest detriment to your organization. I understand they still have a lot to fit, just like here in the city of Houston. But like I just said, they took a step in the right direction versus the Houston Texans who didn't.
I want to look at this, and this is how I believe this will affect the Houston Texans, because now the Jacksonville Jaguars have a vacancy at the head coach.
That's another thing.
Coaching spot. And so we've talked, right? On Twitter, whether it been you and I, whether it been you and some of the listeners, whether it been you and I or some of the Texan fans, and how many people really believe David Culley will return after this season? And I do want to add this. The drama that Houston has right now isn't from this season. I don't think so. The drama Houston has, if you look around it, you have old players that used to play for that's not due to this season. It's talking about the team and the franchise. That's not from this season. You have players who are getting cut, and whenever they go, like a lot of these things are happening due to everything that happened last year. If Nick Caserio would have came into this with this team with a better position in draft, the salary cap, I don't think we have a lot of these issues, right? That the Deshaun Watson, that's not from this season. A lot of these things are based on the previous couple of years as the Jacksonville Jaguars, Urban Meyer with his girlfriend at the club. That's this season. That's mid-season, right? Urban Meyer kicking Josh Lambo, you're kicking. That's mid-season.
No, that was before the season. That was during training camp, apparently.
But then you have James Robinson, your star-studded running back, only getting 4 carries, and you're not knowing when he's in the game or not. Then you have your coach naming players that was on the field that wasn't on taking snaps that game. Like a lot of these things with Urban Meyer are in-season issues. And so we look at David Culley and we may say, well, he's a pawn or he's a scapegoat or whatever we may feel about him. However, he's not creating any franchise chaos and drama. And for your rookie quarterback to come out and say this got to stop, yeah, I think that's the nail in the coffin. Because Khan knows I've never had a quarterback of this talent. And I had a Blake Bortles-led team by 12-4, 13-3, go to the AFC title game. I've never had
because of that defense.
But I've never had somebody this talented with James Robinson, in the backfield at the same time. And then you got your coach. This is one quote that I look at. Unless you had a whistle around your neck or you play, you were basically nothing. And that was from our very own Locked On Network's Tony Wiggins, per source on the Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. And so this guy really treated the guys around him. We heard about the coaching staff that he talked terrible to, like children. This ain't college. You get paid, I get paid. Not under the table, over the table, on the table. I'm a grown man, you're a grown man. This ain't college. But I will look at this team as, do I think David Culley remains after next season? I'm not 100% sure. And I wouldn't be mad. Of course I wouldn't be mad if they moved on from Culley. I was against the hiring in the first place. So now I'm looking at how this affects the Houston Texans. Very simple. Well, who would you like to go coach? You're going to have an owner that's going to give you everything you need. You don't have to go search for a quarterback. You have Trevor Lawrence. You have James Robinson. You have weapons at the receiver position. You have some defensive players, right? You may have to bring in your own coaching staff. Your owner will allow you to do that. Your general manager will allow you to do that. You may have to go, fix up some things in the draft with your offensive line, but you will have free range to do that. Compared to Houston, nobody understands or trusts the relationship Nick Caserio has with his head coach, whether it be David Culley or in the future. And so that's how this affects the Houston Texans, which it will affect the ALC South, right? How does Urban Meyer getting fired affects Houston? Well, this answer is simple. Who's prettier? When you get out of a breakup, get out of a relationship, you walk around sad, you want to choose. And whenever you want to go finally settle down and get to the next level, you're going to choose. And who chooses anybody other than what's facially attractive? Eventually, you get to know their mind. And their mind is how this general manager is going to help me win. how this owner and I are going to have a relationship. However, before you even look at all that, Trevor Lawrence, ooh, James Robinson, ooh, good defense, some weapons at receiver, okay. Nick Casario, she got bad feet. That's bad feet. I don't want bad feet. The Jack Easterby, that's bad breath. I don't want to talk about bad breath.
Which is, by the way, the detriment to the Texans that they still have yet to get rid of.
Right, and so that's another thing. Who do you want to put up with more? Who do you want to deal with more? And that's going to be an issue for Houston. I hate that we spent this much time on it, but I think it was well worth the discussing because Houston does take on the Jacksonville Jaguars on Sunday. Both of these teams are fighting for the third win. However, both of these teams are fighting for top draft positioning, and that's also how it affects the Houston Texans. Right now, this team will be led by interim head coach. You have your coach, David Culley, and I honestly question who has more free range to do what they want to do. An interim head coach who, as a reporter pointed out in Jacksonville, may have an opportunity to have more career wins than Urban Meyer by finishing out this season. Urban Meyer only has 2 career wins in the NFL. This interim head coach may be able to have more. Do I trust that guy who this is his first time being a head coach in the NFL? Or do I trust David Culley, who has had experience through 13 games? Who do I trust more? Game 1, game 13? And that's a terrible question to try to figure out, right? Cody, I'm kind of upset because at the beginning of the year, BetOnline had a great prop bet out there, and it was who was going to be the first head coach to get fired. And I could have made some money on Urban Meyer. My gut told me to go ahead and put money on Urban Meyer, but I didn't do it, and I would have been up some money right now, which would have been great for the holidays. But BetOnline has you covered all season, especially the holiday season, with more props, odds, and lines than ever before as football season continues to make the march to the playoffs. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the sports action this season. So head to the new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. From basketball, football, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right down to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports because BetOnline is where the game starts.
Attention.
What do you remember last year about the atmosphere of the team going into that first team after the Texans departed from Bill O'Brien? I'm pretty sure you saw the news. Jacksonville did the same with Urban Meyer last night.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I remember is just understanding we still had a job to do, and it was just about us and sticking together, keeping the train moving, and that was the biggest thing that I can remember during that time.
When there's a mid-season change like that, does it give the team a little bit extra motivation?
As motivation, I think just energy, just understanding, because everyone's counting you out at that point for sure. So you almost have a little bit more of that underdog mentality just because now you're not with the head coach that you started with. So it just energizes the team just a little bit more.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to this latest installment of Locked On Texans. As you guys just heard, that was an exchange that I had with Brandon Cooks during his media availability on yesterday. Had an opportunity, as you guys just heard, to talk to Cooks about the extra boost that the Houston Texans got in their first game without Bill O'Brien. As you guys know, the Houston Texans started off the season 0-4, and around that time, they was averaging somewhere in the ballpark of 19 to 20 points per game. They fired Bill O'Brien in their first game, ironically against the Jacksonville Jaguars, where they was able to get a win. They put up 30 points. And of course, the reason why I want to close out with this topic is because the Houston Texans are taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars, who just fired Urban Meyer, as we just talked about in the last segment. And John and listeners, I do believe that because of that coaching change, that this is going to be a game that the Houston Texans will lose. And look, the last 23 teams to make a in-season coaching change, they right now have a record of 11-12. The last team to make an in-season coaching change and actually got a win happened earlier this year with the Las Vegas Raiders. As we know, the Raiders had a lot of stuff going on with John Gruden. They was actually on, like, I think it was either a 3 or a 2 game losing streak, and they was able to get rid of him, and they was able to use that emotion and rally together and actually end their losing streak against I can't believe hold on really quick. Yeah, they lost their losing streak. They ended their losing streak, to the Denver Broncos 34-24 after averaging only about a good 14 points per game the last 2 games that they had coached under John Gruden. And John, given everything that's been going on in Jacksonville, you heard Trevor Lawrence. This is a team that's going to come in focus. This is a team that's going to rally together. I think James Robinson is going to come out and probably put together a career day, given how he was treated over this entire season. And I guess this will be in a situation where the Texans might win by losing, because whoever loses this game, they're basically going to seal a deal on that number 2 overall draft pick.
Yeah, you got to take that into account. And I also said a long time ago, the second time around, the Jacksonville Jaguars play the Houston Texans, that they will beat them. But I think that you are looking at a case where Urban Meyer literally handcuffed everybody, right? Nobody was able to reach any type of potential, any type of next level under this guy. You can say players like James Robinson got worse under Urban Meyer. You can say players like Trevor Lawrence, your number one quarterback that you drafted, didn't play up to any standard under this guy, right? And I think that now you're going to have a boost. Players want to come out and show, hey, this was holding us back. We would have been much better. And on top of that, last week the Houston Texans took on the Seattle Seahawks. Rashard Penny went to that game with only 78 rushing yards on the season. Ended up rushing for nearly 200. Yeah. James Robinson has something to prove. And I talked to James Robinson myself. I know you didn't know this, but I called James and I said, hey, man, the playoffs started today. He said, the playoffs started today. We got a couple more weeks in the season, man. We're trying to, get this second or third pick. I said, no, the playoffs started today. My fantasy team needs you. And I can't have another game where you put up, I think, was it 4 points for me last week? But I definitely think this is a game where the Jacksonville Jaguars, they come out focused, man. They come out trusting each other as players. Mm-hmm. And I think the coaches, especially the OC, Bevel, he's going to just say, hey, man, you guys go out there and do what you've been doing your whole lives. And let's play football.
Exactly. So, John, listeners, viewers, whoever has James Robinson on their fantasy team, you better start him this week. Because it's going to be scary for the Texans. But like I say, this might be a situation where they're going to win by losing.
Yeah, man. Thank you guys for checking out this episode of the Locked On Texans podcast. Super excited for this week. I think we're going to have a good game. I just think the Houston Texans will win. I don't have a number. This is a 2-13, 2-12 team. I'm not going to pick a score, right? But, this will be a game where I'm also looking at David Culley and wondering, hey, man, people are picking you to lose this game. Have some integrity about yourself. Follow us on Twitter at Locked On Texans. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe, like, and comment on the Locked On Texans YouTube page as well. Follow me on Twitter at John_Hickman12. And my boy Cody about to give you his credentials where you can find him.
Yes, sir. Please remember to follow me on Twitter at CodyDavis_24. Once again, that's Cody CotyDavis _24. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, be safe, be smart. Peace.
Don't be that smart.